Resident Magistrate Court granted South Africa's request to extradite Shepherd Bushiri. This brings the self-proclaimed prophet and his wife Mary closer to facing numerous charges in South Africa after their dramatic escape in 2020. We are now joined live by senior news analyst at Nation Publications Limited in Malawi, Ntchindi Meki, who has been following this case closely to break down what this ruling means. A very good morning to you, Ntchindi. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. So tell us about this court ruling, what this court ruling essentially means, and how the court would have arrived at the decision that instead of facing all of the 13 charges, that South Africa was only able to make out a case for 3 of the 13 charges.
Good morning and thanks for having me. Firstly, I must say the ruling, the court did emphasize that this was not a trial. This was rather an inquiry. They wanted to authenticate and make sure that the way the extradition request was made to the government of Malawi, the laws were followed. Again, the offenses that are included or that were included on the list do tally with the offenses that are in the Extradition Act in Malawi, in the schedule. So these are some of the areas that the court was looking at. And when the judge who was sitting as a chief resident magistrate was pronouncing this ruling, she did indicate that some of the offenses that were included did not qualify or test or pass through the sufficiency test. And these are offenses such as theft, that of racketeering, money laundering, and others. But the Bushiris, especially for Shepherd, the prophet himself, they are saying he has to go back to South Africa to answer 3 charges of rape, the other one of forgery, fraud, and the contravening the bail conditions. For his wife, there are those offenses of fraud, that of jumping bail or contravening the bail conditions, as well as forgery. So it's a ruling that I think in Malawi it's looked at as a landmark ruling because this is a high-profile case. Bushiri is a leader of a church, and he has a big following in Malawi and outside. So people were looking forward to this determination. But what this means now, since after the pronouncement of the ruling, the defense did indicate that they would want to appeal to the High Court. So in the meantime, the extradition order has been stayed, or it has been paused for 30 days. The defense will be going to the High Court. They've been given 30 days to facilitate bail for the couple. And after that, I think the 2 sides will continue battling it out at the High Court.
Yeah, and just to be clear, at this particular moment, after this judgment, they are not incarcerated, they are not behind bars, they are not in custody.
No, they are not. The defense team made 2 applications. The first one was for the stay of the ruling. At the same time, they also made the application for bail. This bail was not granted by the lower court, the Chief Resident Magistrate Court, because the magistrate said the court can no longer handle the case. It has now gone to the High Court. And that is why the court has given these 30 days for the defense to facilitate the bail application. At the same time, they will be pushing for this appeal at this High Court. So in the meantime, the Bushiris are at home. The status quo remains, because you must understand that since they fled from South Africa and came to Malawi, the Bushiris in courts were not arrested in Malawi, and they were only issued with summons. So throughout the whole inquiry, they were operating from home. So this would be the first time that they are granted bail by the court in Malawi, and we are looking forward to the bail conditions, because the lawyer for the state yesterday made an emphasis that if the court is to allow that the couple have to be on bail, then they have to make sure that they impose some strict bail conditions, something to do with the payment of huge sums of money, issues to do with property estate, and making sure that even for those to be bonded, they have to be people who can be validated, something like that.
Yeah. I see that your paper is also leading with this story this morning, Bushiri's Defiant. And in that statement that they had issued on Facebook yesterday, Bushiri also says that they look at this decision by the court as a victory, which they believe that God has played a role in the court dismissing these 10 charges. But is it clear that on what basis they are going to appeal the 3 other charges? What is it that they are going to argue before the High Court, which the lower court said actually, no, South Africa does meet the conditions for the extradition?
Well, in an interview with one of the defense lawyers, Wapona Kira, he did not come out clear as to or the basis for this appeal. But I would assume that when the ruling was being made, the judge did indicate that the court agreed with the defense that there was some non-compliance in how the state pushed its way through the whole process of the Extradition Act, and how and why the Bushiris were not arrested in Malawi. So it looks like there are some other technicalities that are there in terms of conformity with the laws of Malawi. So I would assume that the defense would want to capitalize on these technicalities. But at the same time, the lower court already pronounced itself to say that even though there were this non-compliance, but Malawi as a sovereign state, it cannot use as an excuse some of these issues, because as a country, we do have other obligations internationally that we need to adjudicate.
Okay. Prophet Bushiri had said before, one of the reasons that they've skipped South Africa or ran away from the country was because of a threat to his life. He feared for his safety and the safety of his wife and his family. Did the court deal with that matter at all with regards to safety? The South African prosecuting authority is saying that their rights will be guaranteed in South Africa, but we know the argument was put before the courts as well to say that there isn't safety issue, and that's the reason why they don't want to come to the country, and also they don't believe that they'll be receiving a fair trial.
Well, yes, the lower court did touch on this, but they didn't elaborate much. But the issue of safety is one that I think the defense would also want to include in their appeal. And this is what, as you've rightly put, it's something that they've always pushed from the word go. That they fled South Africa because of safety concerns, and they don't feel that going back to South Africa they may face a fair trial. And that is why they were insisting that what if the trial itself takes place in Malawi? So I think we're yet to see how the High Court will handle this appeal and the matters that will be raised. But knowing the judicial system in Malawi, I must say here that I do not think it may take. I must say it may take a while it's not automatic that after they've made their appeal, then maybe a week or 2 weeks later, the High Court will pronounce itself. I don't think so. It may take a while.
Yeah, it may take a while. Thank you so much for that explanation. Truly appreciate your time. Ntchindi Meki is a Malawian journalist. They're speaking to us about the extradition application that has been brought by South Africa to have Mary as well as Shepherd Bushiri extradited to South Africa to face numerous charges. 10 of those charges have now fallen away. The court says that, listen, they don't meet the necessary requirement for extradition, but 3 other charges remain, including 3 charges actually of rape. So we're asking you this morning, do you think that fugitive Shepherd Bushiri's last-ditch extradition efforts will succeed? Here are the options that we have for you. Yes, SA has a tight case, or do you believe that he will stall the process and time will tell? Those are the 3 options that we have for you. Scan the QR code. It will take you to the landing page. Once you get to the landing page, choose any of the 3 options there. You can also leave us a comment at Newzroom 405. So we just had that conversation with the journalist based in Malawi. In the next hour, actually at 8:30, we'll be in conversation with Thabo Chakaka Nyerenda, who is the Republic of Malawi's Attorney General. His office actually has the duty to process the extradition following this court ruling. So he'll be joining us to explain to us what happens now, also considering that the Bushiris have applied for an appeal and as well as